Definitely. Okay. If there's
happening.
anything personal that we talk about, we will shut the recording off, if that feels okay to you all. Okay, great.
And
So,
we were saying maybe we'll just pause the recording too at questions, just in case some of the questions are a little bit more on the right. But you can always let us know.
yeah, yeah. So go ahead, Mother Bone. Just kind of begin.
Do a little bit about me.
A little bit about you. Yeah.
Oh, first of all, thank you all so much for being here. Really, what a pleasure to circle up with you. I know sometimes these 7 o'clock calls too, right? It's like after a full day and we're coming together and, just really thankful that you've taken this time to be with us. A little bit about me is that I would say that this program is so near and dear to me because of my own personal journey and my journey. I've been doing, soul work and guide work and wilderness or nature-based work in women's containers for a long, long time. And it was quite a surprise to me when I turned, it was about 52 or so. So perimenopause, had come and postmenopause had come, and I was quite surprised by what was really happening for me. The deep cooking, and I don't just mean hot flashes, but like what was really being asked of me and what was being offered to me to deepen into myself, my work in the world, and really what was I bringing in these times to the collective, and it was this opportunity that really required space, it required good holding, and it required some depth work, and we really don't have those spaces, and it was abundantly clear to me just how much that's missing, and that when we don't have those initiation spaces, we still have some repair work to do, maybe of what we missed in our earlier, years around initiations. And at this time of our life, it's so potent and powerful, and the possibility is so huge. And so I not only went on a personal journey, but a fierce commitment that I would hold and craft these containers so that women have a place to come and do this work that is beautiful, that is um edgy and so rich. So that's a little bit about me and what
Mhm.
brings me here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Well, my name is Tracy Forrest, and I go by Key Turner. And the reason I know that I'm Key Turner is because of a deep soul journey that I went on. Now, 7 years ago, it began when I turned 50. And so this particular work is growing out of um, having traversed some of this territory and having always been really connected to women's work my whole adult life. Um, and yet knowing that as I hit that perimenopause, menopausal time, I was feeling like there was still more. I'd been living a pretty soul-infused life. I have a center here in southern Vermont called Spirit Hollow that I have been um, living at, raised my children here, have been offering shamanic programs, camps, women's
Hmm.
retreats for many years. But at that kind of crux point of turning 50, something was knocking at my door. There was some other work that was calling me deeper. And so that is a longer story, but it's what it took me on a deeper dive. And what I found, even though I began the work with the Animas Valley Institute in a co-ed circle, well, not even co-ed anymore. What do you say when there's more than two genders, the all gendered circle? But what I found in the deepest depths of my journey through the natural world and into the depths of psyche was that there are feminine archetypes in the deep earth
Oh my
that
God.
appeared in my own psyche that I didn't even um, that I didn't even know were part of my story. And so there was something particularly feminine in my journey, and I'm really excited about this next piece. And Mother Bone, maybe you want to give them a little brief thing about how we have come back together after so many years.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and this is just a great, moment. Like you just can't make this stuff up, So Key Turner and I go back to Athens, Ohio in the late 80s. How about that? And we were friends and we shared a, friend group, but we were not particularly close to one another, but we had a lot of shared friends, and always really liked each other from a distance, But then it was last year that I was watching a Zoom recording actually of her, something that she was offering at Spirit Hollow. And I'm watching the Zoom and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's Tracy. And her name at the time in the late 80s was Bestmark. And I was like, no way. So I got in touch with her, and right away it was like, how some people in your life you just fall right back in with in this most beautiful way, even though you've lived such, so much life in between. And we really have been on a very similar journey in so many ways. And also, I think one
I'm
of the
trying to figure out how
joys
to get
for
on. Yes.
us
This way?
is that we
No,
also
let's go that way.
bring, oh, I think there we go. Is that we also bring these really different elements, which is great, but there's such a synergy there. And so there's this great love that we have reconnected, and we're so thrilled to be doing this work together. Just super, super grateful.
Yeah, it feels like the hand of mystery or spirit,
Yeah.
because we like really connected, but this common friend, I think she wanted to kind of keep us each for herself. And so we would never even be invited to do anything together. So we were kind of like, ah. And then when we got back in touch, it's amazing because we were in Ohio and now we've both been living
Yeah.
in Vermont for the last 25 years or however long you've been here, a long time, right?
Yeah.
And here we both were in Vermont and we didn't even know that. So like it's just like now's the time. And I think it's part of this maturation of the feminine in both of us that we have sunk our roots really deeply into mothering and into offering programs to women and into our own work on the land. And to find each other again is kind of like, I think it's amplifying together what we both offer. And so this program is growing out of not just that connection, but all the history of the work we've each been doing. And we offered a weekend program in the spring that we called Matriarchal Medicine, and it was amazing. And we were like, oh my God, we really need a lot more time in these waters. And so that's kind of our backstory and what's kind of sparking us. So yeah, we'd love to hear who's here. Just a minute, just a brief, like this is my name and this is what kind of intrigued me about this offering. So what we'd like to do is maybe one person can start and then you can just pass it to somebody else by name. So if I started, I might say, um, Kate, what brought you here? And yeah, and tell us your name and what you're intrigued about or what is interesting to you about this program, and then you can pass it to another person by name.
Okay,
Thank
um,
you.
sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate. Um, I met Key Turner and Motherbone actually this weekend at a gathering here in New Hampshire. Um, but on the Facebook page for the gathering, there were upcoming events, and there was this phone call for tonight. And I read it, and then I went to the website, and I am 53 and really hit menopause right around 50. I guess I was still, yeah, in the last couple of years, and have noticed enormous changes, both biologically and also, well, mentally, emotionally. I feel like my energy isn't quite what it was. And also I've been doing this women's work and this spiritual work for a very, very long time. And I agree with Motherbone that this has been missing for quite a while. I think this is such a rich and fertile time in women's lives. And in the circles of sort of practicing of the divine feminine, we hear this maiden mother crone a lot, but they're missing this whole piece. We have 4 directions, we have 4 elements. Why don't we have 4
Mm.
women's life? So really just very interested in a program that's this long. I think there's a lot of work to be done, and yeah, feeling excited.
Mm.
Oh, and I get to choose someone. Lee.
Kate, I was like, please not me, please not me, please not me. Because I haven't thought about my answer yet.
Good.
Nice to see you all. My kids are getting ready for bed, so you might hear them in the background. I'm in Maine, in South Portland, Maine, and yeah, I think the thing calling me around this is I can feel a shift happening. My youngest is 2, which still sounds young, but feels much older than he's been. And I'm just so curious about the way I walk in the world, and like the possibility of seeing what I'm not seeing in that. When I think about community and work, there's so much excitement around rhythms that are and rhythms that are happy. Like, I just feel really held by them. And I'm also curious about how to remember in my day to day those same threads. And I feel like the invitation of this specific invitation feels like a lot of space for me, like the full, when you said full weekends, to, yeah, feels like time to be, and I was really grateful to speak with both of you briefly, and just even just some of the question I asked, and you're like, well, why are you asking that question? It's like, like just that togetherness. So I'm that's where I'm coming from on this. Thanks. And Kelly, sending it over your way.
Hi there. My name is Kelly. I live in Western Massachusetts, in Shutesbury, Massachusetts. We just moved here a year ago. And I have been sort of, I got my kids set up, and I got my husband's getting himself set up, and it was sort of my turn. Finally felt like to actually start to incorporate. I wanted a program that was in person, and I've been doing a lot of things on Zoom, and that's been my time. And I started to just say, I am entering this new phase. So this complements a lot of the things I've been thinking about, the work that I'm moving into. But when it was in person and it wasn't just one weekend, I mean, I just was like, this is what I've been asking for. So I got really excited about sort of that, that concept of, you sort of ask, and then it sort of shows up one day. I put a bunch of feelers out in a bunch of different directions, and this was the one that landed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is the thing that I've been looking for. So I'm excited about that you guys are doing. I'm excited that you're doing this. I think that's really, it really resonates with me. Emily.
Hi, everybody. I'm Emily, and I'm from North Central Mass. I'm in Lunenburg. I found Tracy somehow through the ether, and she had journeyed, I guess is that the right verb? You journeyed for my son a couple of years ago, and you've always been on my radar, and I've always read all your emails, and I'm always looking And I was, which one is the one? Which one is the one? When is it time? When is it time? And I just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And what grabbed me about this one, I'm an older mom, so I still have an 8-year-old, but the about to turn 50 this year. It's about that time, and I think someone else mentioned it too. There's just been this shift in me, a lot of therapy, a lot of growth, a lot of change, a lot of groundedness. There's definitely just something so different about who I am today that when I do the reflection on who I used to be, I thought, wow, what change has come. And I'm just so looking forward to what's next. What's next? I had some good mentors when I was in my 20s that said, clear up your stuff, girls, because menopause is coming at you like a freight train if you don't. That was like Christiane Northrup and Anne Louise Gittleman and all of these, the crones, these women who just lead other women. And they were my lecturers in my nutrition program. And I thought, oh, I better get it all cleaned up. I better get on that. And I think that was, 30 years ago. And I think this is a beautiful, it just seems like a beautiful continuation of the work that I've already been doing. So thank you for the offering. Oh, I get to pick someone. Let's see. This quiet one, Melissa Bridges.
Hi, nice to see everybody. So I live in northern Vermont, but am at the beginning stages of probably moving to southern Vermont or the Berkshire area because my family's outside of Albany, New York, and wanting to be closer to them, I think, is part of my transition. I'm 56, I'll be 57 in November. And when I turned 55, it was just like, oh my God, what happened? I feel like physically menopause wasn't that challenging for me, but the emotional, like, who am I now? Who am I going to be next? I just don't even know. I just don't even know. I've done a lot of nature-based spiritual work, which is really, we're all here because we're seekers, right? We're just not happy with I should just speak for myself, happy with just what's on the surface. I want to be in this world from a deep place in myself, and I need help getting there. And I love the name of this, Roots and Bones. Ooh, I love that. and that it's women, more going through this transition, so people that are really, we're all on different paths, but this is a stage of life where not everybody can relate to. I'm the oldest in my sibling group, and so I've been kind of out of sorts. And my one sister, who's just going to turn 50 this year, she is like, what is the matter with you? She just can't even get it. I'm like, I don't know. She's like, just be who you were. I'm like, I can't, but I don't know who I want to be. And that's why I'm here. Thank you. And let's see.
Zivia, you want to go next because you have to scoot, you said? Is that how you say your name? Zivia? Yeah?
Yeah.
Savannah. Yeah.
Via.
Zivia.
Thank you. Yes, unfortunately, I have another Zoom call at 7:30, of course. So hello, and gosh, everything that everyone has said really resonates with me and my call to this. I just moved to Guilford, Vermont, which is outside of Brattleboro, and I'm on this beautiful kind of homestead property that's shared with other folks. And there is a wise woman who is buried on this land. What do I want to say about that? So in addition to what everyone has said, I very much I think I'm being called to step into like my leadership role in holding ritual and working with the spirits and the ancestors and the medicine in nature. I did a 2-year apprenticeship with Elisa Starkweather from 2011 and 2012 called Priestess Path. And that was, you know, just back then, that was when I was entering motherhood. And so now I have an 11-year-old and haven't quite hit menopause yet, but I know it's coming, and feel a call to be more in community with women my age who are going through all of this. So thank you for initiating the idea. And I'm not sure that I can attend, but I'm really interested and have been following you for a while. And so we'll see what's in the mystery.
Great. Yeah,
I'll go
thank you.
and pass it on to Allison.
Am I in there?
Yep.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah. We
Oh,
can see
good.
you,
Okay.
hear you. Yeah.
All right, cool. Sorry, I haven't done a Zoom like this before, so I hope that everyone can see me. Thank you. It's so nice to hear from lots of other people. I how have I been called here? I did a program with Key Turner this past June, and was introduced to Spirit Hollow, and have been doing work with the Animas Valley Institute as kind of a background. And around that, before that time, I just felt changes happening, you know, like my life, just feeling like I wasn't quite fitting, I guess, is sort of a bookend. And as I begin the journey into the soul work and the nature work, I feel like it really resonates, and there's a lot there for me. So when I saw this email about this program come up, I read the bullet points and I said, oh yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me. And so I was really intrigued, and I've been struggling to figure out if this is what I want to really commit my time to for a weekend a month for 9 months. And a lot of things are pointing to yes, it is. Like this will be amazing. And then I have some reservations too, that I think probably have more to do with my own limitations than with real signals saying no. So here I am in the struggle, and I thought maybe being here would help me gain some bits of clarity or bits of pieces of information that can help shape me over the next little while. But I do feel a tug, and I really love what Key Turner has to offer in terms of her presence in her space. And I can only imagine this course will be very, very powerful. So thank you all. Now I have to find how to figure out who is next. Have we done Emily yet?
raise your hand if you haven't gone yet. Lindsay, you haven't gone yet either, right? Yeah. So I think it's Lindsay, Kimmy, and Giulietta. Giulietta, yeah.
Julita, long E, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Giulietta, yeah. So those are the ones who haven't had a chance to go yet. So go ahead and pick one, Allison.
Okay, what are the three?
Giulietta, Lindsay,
Julie.
and Kimmy.
Okay, Lindsay.
Hi, sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself because I too have not been Zooming a lot lately because I got a little bit of Zoom. It was too much. There was too much Zooming. So I live in Dover, Massachusetts. I'm 48 and I have 4 children. My oldest is headed into his senior year of high school, so we have a lot of transitions happening here. My youngest is 10, and I have always sort of been interested in spirituality. I was a religion major in college, and I studied a lot of Eastern religions and Native American sort of traditions. And I've always been sort of on the path, on a spiritual path, but alone. So I think what's drawn me to this program is the idea of a community of women coming together, and the fact that it's a women's program. And then also the fact that I am feeling a seismic shift at this center point in my life. It's kind of, I feel like I've been, you're on a seesaw and you're walking up, 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 and then all of a sudden you're here. And I want to be able to take that next step in a way that feels like I'm being authentic. Almost sounds trite. It's not really the word that I'm looking for, but really ensouled, I guess, almost like as who I have meant to be this whole time, and just have been busy mothering and wifing and daughtering and doing all the other things. And I'm ready to just take that step forward into who I really am meant to be. So that's why I'm interested in the program. And I would love to take that step with all of you ladies. So yeah, that's me. And I guess next we have Kimmy.
Oh, my stars. My husband and my daughter are playing Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit in the background. So if they're screaming, they're whipping each other in Trivial Pursuit. I'm Kimmy. I'm sorry that I'm late today. I have been looking forward to this call for weeks and weeks and weeks. And don't you know, as I go to, like, I'm all prepped and I'm ready and I've taken the day off work, and then the time got away from me and I look up and I'm 20 minutes late. So I'm so sorry. From what I gather from the women who I've spoken or that I've heard speak, we're talking correct me if I'm wrong, we're introducing ourselves, what our history with spirituality and esoteric practices are, and what we hope to get from the program or what we would like. Am I on the right path there?
We're so glad you're here, Kimmy, and I love that we time gets away, right? It's more an introduction, just you name where you're coming in from and whatever really just sparked your interest in this program. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. So I'm Kimmy. Just turned 53. I feel like I have been in perimenopause for 12 years. For literally 12 years. My oldest is 28. I'm a grandma. I have 4 kids. My youngest is going to be 23. Um, I just moved to Charlotte, Vermont. I live in Charlotte. I work in Burlington and I work in Stowe. And I just moved here from Portland, Oregon. I've lived on the West Coast for 25 years and moved back to the East Coast. And I am missing my witchy sisterhood. I'm missing my companions and compatriots, and um I I had a hard reckoning coming into perimenopause, feeling like no one was talking about the sisterhood and the need for where we were at. And as I was researching and trying to find women's groups that I related to, or finding people on Instagram, even, everyone's in their 25, 28, 33 age. And I believe that those magical women who are trying to lead women to manifestation um and a centeredness towards the earth are young and vibrant, but they're not speaking to my need where I'm at. There, a lot of them are talking about manifestation of money and hustling and making your small business work, and I need to be rooted and grounded and feel like I'm surrounded with women who understand where I'm at in my point in life. And I'm trying to, in the move, what spoke to me was everything that I have is still in boxes. We lived in an Airbnb for 7 months and just our home about 6 weeks ago. My altar is all in a box. My crystals are all in a box. All of my esoteric spirituality books are in a box, and they're somewhere in our garage. I haven't even gotten to it yet. And I feel like I've lost touch with everything. And so not only am I floundering with not having a community of friends who understand my spirituality and my witchy mama love the earth naturopathic type love language that I want to give to my body myself and be surrounded with like-minded women. Um, I just have this huge disconnect because I'm so I'm just not rooted. I'm not rooted into anything. Last fall, I was naked in a river in the redwoods, and I had this awesome group of women, and I move here and I'm surrounded by lots of warm and welcoming people, but I feel like people are either significantly much older or significantly much younger. And so I'm just trying to find my niche. What I'm hoping to get from the program is just a sisterhood of being able to say, you know, the world is a scary place right now, but this is where I'm at in it. And if I concentrate on me and my own individual light and spark and what I can bring to my smaller community and my smaller group, hopefully we will manifest a bigger change and make it a chain reaction. And so that's me in a nutshell, kind of rambling on. Sorry.
Thank you. Julita, we would love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I was late. Yeah, I was late and I'm going to have to leave. And yet I'm really happy to be here. I'm zooming in from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. A friend of mine here did some work with the Animas Valley Institute and shared this program information kind of link with me. Not even knowing kind of really where I'm at, and it just immediately resonated so clearly and strongly. I just turned 52 and I just, I guess, medically entered menopause about a month ago. And I'm also just beginning a sabbatical year. I've been doing work as a high school principal at an arts school for a few years, but I'm heading into a year of spaciousness. And I made that decision to step into a year away from work because I was feeling a very strong pull to figure out what real inner freedom means. I think freedom freedom away from the should voice inside my life, and freedom to find peaceful, less intense living that in some regards, less frenetic living that connects more to my deepest soul pullings. I'm an earthy kind of person and a poet, and most of my writing is very body and nature like nurtured. And when I read about this program, I thought, oh, I wonder if, I don't know, I'm very far away from where you are in Vermont, but I wonder if, so there's something sort of magical and kind of pulling me. So that's why I'm here.
Wow. Thanks, Julita. Yeah, you're very far away. But who knows, right? We'll see. Yeah. Really beautiful to hear from everybody. And just hearing the theme that really stands out to me is the community aspect of returning to a group again and again with the same circle who goes through a whole experience together. And I think we all can use more containers that are safe and well held in order to be able to open ourselves fully to what's here for us. Yeah. So, Mother Bone and I are going to just share a poem, and then we're going to give an overview, just a little more overview of the program. And then we'll see where we are with time. And there'll definitely be some time for questions at the end, too. So, this is a poem by a woman whose name is Patricia Reese, and it's called The Ancient Ones. And so something about poetry, I think, gets below our strategic mind and allows us to feel into the mythos, the understory, the mystery, and the magic of what we're evoking in a circle such as this. So you're going to hear both of our voices here. The Ancient Ones. We have been with you. We have been with you. We are the Ancient Ones, and we remember. We remember the time when there was only love, the time when all breathing was one. We remember the seed of your being planted in the belly of the vast black night. We remember the red cave of deep slumber, the time of forgetting, the sound of your breath.
The pulse of your heart. We remember the force of your longing for life, the cries of your birth bringing you forth. We are the ancient ones, and we have waited and watched.
You say that you cannot remember that time, that you have no memory of us. You say that you cannot hear our voices, that our touch no longer moves you. You say there can be no return, that something has been lost, that there's only silence.
We say the time of waiting is over. We say the silence has been broken. We say there can be no forgetting now. We say, listen.
Listen, listen, we are the bones of your grandmother's grandmothers. We have returned now. We say you cannot forget us now. We say we are with you and you are with us. Remember, remember, remember. Yeah. And so that's got a little of the flavor of what we're hoping to open up into conversation with in this program. And Mother Bone's going to give just a brief overview of, you can read about it on the website and all that, but just to hear it in our words might be really helpful.
Yeah, and to name, and Kate touched on this, and we were at a gathering this weekend that was really all about women's rites of passage, and it was such a great opportunity for us to really drop into this wise woman life cycle, which really is, roughly age 40. I mean, these are the rough, like the big brushstroke, right? Postmenopausal, and it's this journey that we're in that all of you have touched on, and I certainly understand. Key Turner understands. We hunger and we crave for these places where we can really go, bring our focus and our time and our energy and our commitment to what it is that we know we are to step into at this time, personally and collective, for the collective. And so these weekends are really designed to take us, that they are so intricately linked, right? There's the three, of the first phase. We broke them into, the phases, and then the three of the second phase, and the three of the third phase. This is all very connected. And we do it every month so that, sometimes do you ever do work, and maybe there's just like 3 months in between. And by the time you get back and 3 months has passed, you just feel a little rusty. Like, wait, where was I? What was happening? What was going on? Like you lose a rhythm. These are designed so that we're staying in close connection, in close community, and that you are staying with what's really coming up, and also what the repair work is. And I'm going to let Key Turner talk a little bit about sort of that structure of it. But I also will say that, this is a time where it's so important because we know that the wise women are missing for so many of us in the modern world. And not only do we, crave ways for us to step forward, but that means we're also waylaying for those who are coming after us, so that they can begin to see again the wise women alive and in action and intact and in community. And the important element of this really is that connecting in community and building a container where we are, doing some of that work that's about us as women together. So it's not just isolated about us as individuals, and so often this time of life can get very sort of pathologized, the sort of what's wrong with me. This is, a lot about what's also the wisdom we carry. What do we need to tap into that we are resourced and designed for? And maybe Key Turner, you can talk a little bit about the wisdom and repair piece.
Yeah, so we're really seeing the whole experience as a way to really, deepen into not only the community of women, but also to work really closely with Earth herself and with the other than human ones out on the land. And so we kind of see this as how do we retrieve our medicine, our gifts? And we know what some of them are, of course, but how do we hone them in this time so that we really are filling the missing roles in this culture that's very ageist, right? We know we're supposed to be losing our power and agency as we age. That's what the culture says. But that's not what the ancient ones say. That's not what we know in our bones. And this is the opportunity to really source deeply to build our wholeness so that there's some repair work around the parts of us that have been wounded or still need to come home. And we're going to be bringing in our wholeness and working with parts of ourself, maybe our wounded little girl parts, or maybe parts of us from the way we have been diminished over our mothering years. But this is about this reclaiming of our medicine so that we can step fully in across the threshold and into the opposite of what the culture wants us to do, which is to fade away quietly into the older years and become, smaller. And we're saying, let's become more powerful, more full of our wholeness, more full of our gifts, so that we can take the role that we need to take for our people now. And so we have kind of what we call two parts to it, which one is kind of wisdom work and the other is repair work, so that we are accessing our own wisdom through coming back to earth, through really becoming, in our animal bodies, in our sensual bodies, in eros with the world, which is alive and full, and creating those connections across the species boundaries. And also be working with our own, listening deeply to what wisdom we already have from all the years of having lived, and also to work with what's the muse calling for me now, what's in the dream time, what's in the fertile darkness that is still yet to be revealed. And so there's way more things that we could say. It's a whole 9-month program. So I don't want to go through all the things because it would take way too long. But in the repair work, it's not only working with our own inner, parts of ourselves that might still need some love and some healing, but it's also with working with the cultural stuff, the repairing what's been the wounding that we've received, not just through our feminine line, but also through how it's been like to be in this culture. So there's some personal healing work, there's lineage, matrilineal, and maybe even patrilineal line healing work around, and it's and there might be grief work in there, and also this kind of reclaiming all of our potency as women now, who are the ones we've been waiting for. Nobody else is coming. And we are a culture that doesn't have a lot of true elders. And I'm not in the crone stage yet. I'm still fully in this kind of medial woman, kind of matriarch, kind of shifting and changing. Whereas Mother Bone has stepped across the threshold into her crone years, and we are the same age. And so you can see that it's not necessarily chronological. It is what is being revealed to us in our own life journeys. And so we're holding both of those phases in our work together, and that it is us helping ourselves to step into this as we help you to step into it as well. So I don't know, I think I was rambling. Go ahead, Mother Bone.
No, that's beautiful. And I would
Yeah.
just add, because of course we could riff on this for so long, but it's also like, we have so much more access to ourselves. If you think about the spiral as we age, and there's so much more power, and I mean that in right relationship to power as we age, and so this really is a rich and fertile time for this work, and that is why we're here. So I do want to say that. Yeah, that's the only piece I wanted to add. And Key Turner, did you want to talk at all about Spirit Hollow, or should we move into questions? I want to be mindful of time. It's already 7:53.
I'm muted. How many times have you heard that over the last few years? You're muted. I was muted. Yeah, so Spirit Hollow is in the very southwest corner of Vermont, almost in New York State. And so I'm about an hour, a little over an hour from Albany, an hour, a little over an hour from Saratoga, 3 hours from Boston, a little, what, 3 from Burlington, Motherbone? Ish. Yeah. Um, and so what I have here is this incredible land that I have been, it's one of the deepest relationships of my life. I plan to live here the rest of my life, and I've been here 25 years, and the land called me here with my ex-husband. And so I'm located in the National Forest here, and at the very last house on the road, there's no neighbors except the wild ones. And I'm surrounded by 5,000 acres of wilderness. And so we have this really beautiful opportunity to be very immersed in the wild forest with a brook running by. And Spirit Hollow has 2 yurts. I live here. My kids are 20 and 23. So my eldest is in Portland, Maine, and my youngest is at Hampshire College in Amherst. So he's kind of back and forth, but he's mostly not here. And so um, but I have raised my kids here, and I have such a deep commitment to this land. In fact, my last name, Forrest, was a name that I took when my ex-husband and I actually did a ceremony to marry this forest. So there's a real deep hum here of the more people who come and pour their hearts out and open to the animacy of the other than humans, the more they want us to be in conversation. And so the land itself is very charged up with curious beings and other than human ones who want to be in conversation with us. And I also have I just received a donation as a nonprofit for a new yurt. So we're in this which Allison experienced. We're in this new big 30-foot yurt, which is our gathering space, and it's gorgeous and lots of space to move and to, write and to roll around or whatever you want to do, make art. And so what we offer for the weekends is that you can stay here. I have another smaller yurt, which we've converted into kind of a bunkhouse, both heated by wood stoves. So there's places to stay. In the warmer months, you can tent as well if you want that kind of private space. And we'll do our meals together in terms of we'll have 2 potluck suppers during the weekend, and then you'll just bring your own lunch and breakfast. And you'll have use of my kitchen in the house, and as well as I have an outdoor kitchen area in the warm months. And we have outhouses. And we do have outdoor showers, which would be probably usable the first meeting or two, and then they're shut off for the winter. So it's only 2 days, and we don't have a lot of access to indoor plumbing, but we have clean outhouses. You have space to put stuff in fridges and use stoves, and we share the meals together. And if you need more amenities, there's lots of bed and breakfasts and motels and stuff in the area that I can recommend. So that's just like the physical place. What else you got to say, Mother Bone?
I think that kind of, yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that's complete. So we could open up for questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it in the program, and I missed the front part of it. Was there an introduction about what hopes and goals for this time together? Or is it, I just want to be mindful of what I missed and how to ask my question. My question is it a delving into more like shadow work where you're going to be asked to you'll experience something and then be given quote unquote like homework to work on throughout the month, and then come back in community with women and share your experiences? Is that kind of the format that you see this taking on? And my second question is, because I'm going to call it a program, maybe it's not a program, but because it's a program kind of built on one another, are there opportunities to come in and out, or do you have to commit to the entirety of it? And is there, for inclement weather, if you can't make it, do you miss such a portion of it?
So how about Key Turner? I'm going to take the first part of that. So that's a great question, Kimmy. Thank you. Questions. Those good, great layers. So the first part that you asked, is there going to be some work and then sort of that homework piece, like that you're going to be integrating and working with something? Yes. Yes. So that then when we come back for that next weekend, there's another threading and then another layer, for sure. And that's how it's all woven in. And we find, Key Turner and I, for sure, that the deepening work, giving you something to leave with, to continue to integrate and work with, is really important. And we may even have some Zoom calls here and there for council to really come together and say, how is it going? What's up? What's cooking? What are some burning shares? So yeah, that's that. Does that answer that first part? Okay, great.
And the second part, it is a journey. So it's a closed program, meaning nobody's going to be entering in the middle. And we hope that people will make a commitment. It's not to say that if something, happened at home, or there was some other, something that pulled you away that you couldn't, that you couldn't miss. We would hope it only would be like one time. Sorry about the phone in the background. We find, that commitment to the circle and the program, it just takes everybody on that collective journey together. If there was inclement weather and it was like not safe to drive or whatever, we would probably choose to meet on Zoom that weekend, at least for a few hours here and there, to continue the conversation and to continue the offering that we had planned for that weekend. So when I've had to do that in the past, which isn't very often, it seems like mostly the weather cooperates for some reason, which is great. But I have seen when I've had to do something like a longer program online for like a few hours on Zoom, and then a few hours maybe where you're out on the land or you're doing some exercises, and then we come back together and kind of share what we've done, and then maybe some more time apart, and then coming back together, so that since the weekend would be put aside anyway for the program, we would kind of still hope that we'd stay in that container in a meaningful way. Because and maybe Mother Bone and I will try to come up with one snow date for toward the end of the program, like an add-on, and you can put that on your calendars just in case there is there's a time that we need to make up, if that answers
Yeah,
it.
and I think to tag on to that, it's, I've done a lot of 9-month program in support too, and I will say that it's very rare. I so agree with Key Turner that there's a cancellation of a weekend. There may be a late start on a Friday night or an option to come in Saturday morning, and that we can only, control what we can, control, and we're, ask that everybody make safe choices for themselves, for sure. Yeah, and just to echo what Key Turner was saying, that the most you will get out of this is to be at every weekend, and the most the container will receive is that we're all together every weekend. If there's like a huge thing that you already know that one weekend you've got this, like, oh my gosh, this one thing is happening in this one weekend, then you definitely, would have a conversation with you, and totally, I mean, that does happen sometimes, but not that it would, if you're already looking ahead and it's like, well, maybe not that weekend or that weekend, that, because what can happen too is that can collapse a container to some degree. Do you know what I mean? Not the whole container, but you know what I mean? It kind of deflates that community piece. So we really ask for that commitment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I ask, if it's okay, one more question?
Sure.
Would you categorize this as an in-depth work of healing, or do you categorize this more as a celebration coming together of women?
Both.
And I know that's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
I've been in some groups where there's been so much work on healing wounds
Yeah.
that for me as an empath, I end up taking a lot of that on and I end up more sad than celebratory. And I want to make sure that even if we're doing that work, there's an even balance,
Yeah.
that there's going to be celebration and joy at the end.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's not just meant to be like in the grief and in the wounds. That's part of reclaiming, but there's also so celebratory for sure. There'll be, the kind of the what we offer in a weekend means it's more than we can go into the specifics and like what the themes are for the weekend are on the website, but what we have is kind of a combination of council work where we're really sharing deeply by passing a talking piece and really speaking and really hearing each other. We're also doing some movement if that feels good with music to drop into our bodies. We're always going to have time out on the land with invitations that we give you. We call them everything we do, we call it an invitation because if it's not something you're forced to do. And the invitation is like oh yeah, I'm invited to do this thing. And maybe the invitation we give you for going out on a wander isn't what you need to be doing right now. There's something else that's takes precedence. So we would be supporting you in that. And so we also will be doing ceremony, lots of ceremonies, some on the land, some together by the fire. We'll be doing, there'll be visual art type stuff. Not that anybody has to feel like they're an artist, but there'll always be opportunities to use our hands and to journal and to create symbols. There'll be deep imagination journeys. So you're with drumming, guided, for a particular, intention. Um, there'll be the sharing of the meals, which is always fun. What else will there be, Mother Bone, that I may be missing?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's such a good question that tags back to what Keith Turner had spoken about around the wisdom work. That's steeped in wholeness. That's a celebration of who we are as women. That's a core root of this work. I mean, I would say that what I track is that we're actually getting really, really, really skilled at the repair work and the healing, and we're actually less skilled at being in our wholeness and our power and our wisdom. So this is a real dance of that reclamation, that honor, that rooting, and there's repair of peace, Yeah, because without, it starts to really that's the personalization and pathology that's so pervasive. That's a lot of P's right there. But really the personalization and that pathology is something to really track that we take to heart. So there's great celebration, and that's part of that reweaving of the wise women. That's celebration in and of itself, right? Is that we are really coming together in this way of saying yes, like we are committed and wanting to be in service. If you're looking at those questions too, Keith Turner and I always say, if you read those questions that we highlight on the website, and it's a yes, 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 yeah, that's so important to know for yourself. If it just resonates, that's a really important call in, I would say, and some of that is definitely celebration.
Yeah, and I'll just
Does
say
that speak to that? Yeah.
one more word about the wholeness piece, and then I think Emily and then Lee for questions. Um, the the models that we use for wholeness, which we'll talk about and show and use. The thing I love about it is that it's the wild mind work from Animas Valley, which is who I'm a guide in training with, is that we're not coming from we're not starting in our wounds, in our fragments, and trying to somehow climb up to wholeness, which is what a lot of therapeutic models have, a lot of other healing modalities. Start with your fragments and try to somehow get to wholeness. The nature-based map of the psyche that we use is about, first, we come into our wholeness first by using the 4 facets of our wholeness through nature, through the 4 directions wheel. And we can come into wholeness and not even do any healing work by coming into our wholeness, but we have to come into our wholeness first. And then we can look at what still needs to be worked with and worked on. But we don't start with the wound and get to wholeness. We start with our wholeness. And that'll be part of every weekend for sure. So to me, that's a flip in the way I was working for many years, was working with the wounds first and trying to get to some kind of a place. Instead, we start at this whole place that's already in us, that's already available to us, which is based in nature's template. And then we are in our wholeness to do the rest of the work. So, but it was a great question. Thanks, Kimmy. Emily, did you have something?
Yeah. 24. What was that? What was I thinking? Oh, there was a time away. Can you talk about that? Like you can go off on your own, or you're an invitation to be off on our own. Can you talk about that time?
Do you want to talk about Mother Bone or do you want?
I don't think I caught that whole question. Can you repeat that?
I think there was an invitation somewhere. Hopefully I'm talking to the right people. It was an invitation to sort of spend like 24 hours on your own. That was you, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was us.
Yep. Yeah. So, one of the things, and that can be, it might be a little bit less than 24 hours. We haven't quite firmed that up, but it is time to have solo time on the land. There's a really important element of as we go along, and that's like down the road a bit, but it's to really allow a lot of what you've been integrating and sourcing and reclaiming and stepping into and, coming, further alive. And, as you go out onto the land and have that time, it's a really important opportunity for more clarity and more vision to come and more awareness of maybe what else needs to be released, what else needs to be let go, and stepping further into that medicine, especially that medicine, that place in you that there's something really coming alive. There's so much emerging in this stage for us, and so to have that time on the land where it is, on your own with the more than humans, to really anchor into something that's emerging. Yeah. Does that help?
You can think of it as kind of like a mini vision quest. There's something about taking ourselves outside and out of the norm that just opens us another layer. It takes away when we're not distracting ourselves and we're even let ourselves move. Part of what we're doing here too is moving to edges in us and ourselves. The edges that we are both allured by, like, I want to go there, and also like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. That's the place where there's so much yummy juice, right? That sometimes we say, take one step further than you think you can take, just one. And so sometimes to put ourselves kind of on those edges can really lead to breakthroughs. And it allows us to realize that we really are one of all the others in the natural world. This is also part of reclaiming our wise self, our wild woman, is realizing how much effort has been gone to in this culture, this pathologically sick culture, to disconnect us not only from nature but from the body, our own bodies. And so this reclaiming of ourselves as part of, as creatures, as wild women, that time on the land to let the land reveal and offer teachings, wisdom, and also just to be in conversation without it even being about us is such a way of attuning ourselves to, it's like when we take away another layer of the world, another layer of the culture, another layer of all the technology and all the responsibilities, then we are able to really hear what Earth is saying to each of us. And that's what we are offering in that. And so that's again, that's like in the last third of the program. And we're going to be spending each weekend like an hour or two wander here with some kind of an intention to do a personal ceremony, or to sit with a particular part of you, or to sit with some sort of work with something collective. So you're going to be getting more and more used to, like, I don't know what your relationships are to your land anyway, but this is just another way to be really cultivating that connection to the earth. And through every weekend, there'll be time on the land. I know I'm rambling now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would, of course, because I can always add something, that not always, but and I would say that one of the things that we really look to is that, it's just like if we want to invest or we want to build a relationship with another human, right? We invest time, we invest energy, we invest focus. And so many of us hunger for this deeper relationship and connection to Earth, even those of us who have really rich relationships. There's something more calling. And we need that time, and we need to build that we need to go there, to really nurture and foster that connection. So who else had a question? I feel like did that answer for you, Emily? Is that good? And I promise it's not in the winter, right, Key Turner? Just kidding. Lee, you had a question? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, thanks. Kimmy made me think. I had two questions. One, Kimmy was making me think of this with her first question. That balance between what we're coming with intention wise and the invitations, and just kind of curious. I've been in some co-ed spaces where I'm like, oh, I really want to work on this, but the prompt is that, and that feeling of like, yeah, how much of this is what we're really bringing to be working on? I think you know what I'm asking. That kind of it can be tension, but there's such surrender. Yeah. And then the other question was the sharing stories that was listed. How much of that is just personal stories, or is it also using like old stories? And is that a piece of this? Or how much so? Thanks.
I do the first part, you do the second. It seems to be such a perfect dance. Thank you. Great questions. So okay, so I love it. The first part I'm going to say is that it's very personalized in that we're keeping it very intimate so we can really track, right? So that it's not just this big group where we're not really sure what's going on and what's happening. Because here's the thing is that sometimes it can be our escapist who's like, yeah, I don't want to do that thing. I want to do this thing, right? And so we're going to be really tracking to make sure that you're not just kind of hijacking yourself. Like, yeah, I really want to do this, and so it's a dialogue. And really so that you can attune even deeper to like, what's the real yes for you, what's that real lead, and we honor that. And that's a beautiful thing to help it, you tune into. And what Key Turner spoke to as well earlier is that, we're really straddling the matriarchal, just out of mother. And I don't mean that out of mother, meaning none of us are mothering. I'm still very actively in my mothering, but it's to say that she's really also honing in on that. And I'm also honing in on some of us are stepping into or coming toward elder and crone, right? So we're also really fine tuning what are those prompts for that personal piece as well, so there are layers to that. Does that make sense?
Like the prompts will have layers that are individualized in a way.
Yes. Yeah, to really help you deepen in. And then, and then there's always conversation. You can always come up and say like, yeah, I know that wander is about this, but this really feels like what's being called. Yeah. And again, we'll just, support you in, what's there for you.
I think we're both really big on options. Like, here's a thing, and if here's a wander, we're going to go out on the land, and here's three different options. And the fourth option is do what you think you need to do. You know, that's probably the most important option. Yeah. Yeah. And looks like Kelly has to go. Mwah. Thanks for coming, Kelly. Let us know if you have
Thank
any questions.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here in just a minute or two, but Lee, I think it's a combination of personal stories and archetypal stories. And sometimes, seeing what emerges from the group, but like, so we're also going to be like when my kids went to their little independent school, they had emergent curriculum, which I loved. It's like, what are the kids interested in? And let's do science around that. And for us, it's like we have a framework and we will have structure that we hope to follow over this 9 months. But if we see, and because we're tracking you, which means we're taking notes on what you're sharing in council, it's so awesome to be tracked because you might forget that there was this incredible thing that happened or this really hard, like you came up against a block. And we're not going to forget. We're going to have it in our notes. And 3 sessions later, we'll be like, hey, remember the time, remember this, and the dream you had about the woman with the lantern or whatever. So we're going to be tracking you so that we can work particularly with you to hope to bring forth what would support you most in your unfolding. And sometimes, so in merging, also like, what if we get after a weekend, we think, oh man, that didn't work. Let's pivot a little bit and we'll use this instead. So we're very flexible in how it's, what the needs of the group are, as well as like, we're not gonna be so firm that like, we didn't cover this and we have to do it, even though the interest isn't there or the group isn't going in that direction. And so I think we will be bringing in some archetypal stories that really support where we are on the journey. Stories, for example, like maybe everybody's feeling the pull downward, so we might incorporate Inanna in the myth of the descent of Inanna, or it might be that we hear the Selkie story. And so we really read and work with the Selkie stories from women who run with the wolves, or maybe we're going to work with some predator stories. So we're going to just kind of see what's in the field and what would help us all deepen together. But I would say, your personal story is probably the most important story. And in fact, in my guide training, when we're guiding people, we don't go to we don't bring in the archetype unless we see it 3 times in a person's story, because we don't want to be overlaying something onto somebody's personal story. But if we keep seeing the archetype come up again and again, we might invite them to also look at that layer of their story, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Any other question? We know it's 8:20 and people are like, I'm getting ready for bed soon. I know that.
Can I ask one last one?
Sure, yeah, Kimmy.
Is there any poetry or reading or any books, fiction, nonfiction, that if we do decide that this is a course that we want to partake in and join this community of women for this commitment, is there anything that you want us before that first meeting to get in the right headspace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question.
Is
Go ahead.
that something that, not that you have to give it today, but is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
something that is like given to you so that you're kind of mindfully thinking, or is it more impromptu-y type stuff?
No, there's definitely going to be a very beautiful welcome with some resource lists, and that this is what you can do. And here are some suggestions. We are rich with suggestions and resources. I mean, that's part of the beauty of having done this for so long, right? Both personally and, holding all this work. So there will be that. And there will always be, again, and this is my big thing, is that I watch a lot of containers get so big that it's not personalized anymore. And that's why we're staying really true to a small group. So that, let's say that after the 3rd weekend, you go up to Key Turner and you're like, this is what's happening, this dream. Key Turner might be like, this poem for you, Kimmy, feels really, really ripe. You know, here, you know, take this and then you can work with that. And, you know, so it's really weaving in what's coming up too. So there's some of the bones of like, okay, here's some great resources. And we ask that you read them if you feel the call. And then there will be all that weaving in and to the group, because this isn't just each person going through it. It's also that we are going through it as a group, you know, that we are in community. And so there might be this piece where we're doing some of the cultural repair work and we're like, ooh, you know, let's do this reading together, you know? So
You know, and
it's
sometimes
that, it's both and.
sometimes when you go through a program, there's a matching book because there's a curriculum that's based on that book, and we are creating this. So there isn't a book, there isn't a map. There's pieces of the map, there's support materials, but there isn't like, oh, we're going to follow this trajectory because it's we are seeing how much like I don't know who was it said at the beginning that there's the maiden, mother, and crone, and what about all the other stuff in between? And this is what we're doing is trying to really reclaim what's been missing and how to bring it. We can't even you can't even find consistent names for this interim stage here. You know, some call it a queen, some call it a media woman, some call it a matriarch, some call it changing woman, some call it medicine woman, some call we couldn't you can't even find a consistent consensus on what this time of life is in that way. So I think it's exciting to be on the cutting edge too of the creation of a whole body of work that we are all going to be participating in if we choose to together. Yeah.
Yeah. And that it's very, very deeply well crafted. I will say that we have, you know, I've got notebooks full of idea, you know, we are in communication, Key Turner and I, and in this. And so it's, you know, it's like we are pouring a lot of life force into it. So there's a lot of structure, there's roots, you know, because I that's an important part, you know. So it's not just this free flow and like, well,
Right.
maybe let's do this, you know, but it's very um woven with also a lot of listening to what else is possible here, what else is needed here, because it is cutting edge 100%. I mean, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. That's why we say it's one of a kind, you know, where it's not existing, it's not there. You know, that's why we're getting such response, you know. And last thing, and I want to say this because this is recorded too, is that so the early bird price is available through August 10th. So I just want to name that's when that does close. Before I forget, because we all know how we can forget things, right?
Right. And also all the dates and everything are on our website, and the website is on both of our personal on Spirit Hollow and on Mother Bones website. So the dates are there. You can see if they work with your schedule. And please reach out to either one of us through email if you have any questions or you want to have a personal meeting with us
Yeah.
together or with one of us to talk about it more. So
Lindsay or Kate or Allison, any questions just before we close? Okay.
thank
You
so much
all
for
so
coming,
much.
yeah, time with us. Yeah. Hopefully
Beautiful
we'll
to
see
be with
some of
you.
you down the
Yeah,
road in the cauldron.
that's right.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Many blessings.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Bye.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Cool.
All right. Oh,